Greetings, loved ones. Let's take a trip.
It's time for
Amanda Exclusivo.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Amanda Exclusivo. I'm so excited because Ben Higgins is here again. Hi
I'm back.
Ben, I'm so excited that you're here, and I absolutely loved your book, Alone in Plain Sight. I just read it, it was amazing, and
Thank you.
just wanted to commend you because of how much you opened up and let us into your world. So what made you want to do the switch from being the Bachelor to being an author?
Wow. Well, you know what? Maybe the best way to answer that is like I will always, The Bachelor will always have a season of my life. It'll always be a part of my story, but I don't want it to be the forever thing. I don't want it to be the thing that I just say, okay, I was the Bachelor, I'm good, I'm done. That's it. And when I was given the opportunity to write a book, I wanted to write something that I felt like spoke to a message that many people could benefit from. And I didn't want it to be Bachelor focused because I wanted it to be something I could be proud of for a longevity, for a long period of time. And it took me 2 years. And so I was like a really slow author. It's a really slow writer. But it's been 2 years of my life, and a month ago it's launched. And so I couldn't be more happy. But I think the big way to answer that would just be like, I just don't want The Bachelor to be the only thing I ever do.
Exactly. And I don't blame you. So throughout your writing process, you said it took 2 years. So what were some of the challenges or things you enjoyed when it came to writing your book?
One of the interesting things was getting to talk to people, like having a reason to reach out and ask people questions. I think that was one of the coolest parts is I had like the ability to call up some people I knew, some people I didn't, and just say, do you mind telling me about your life? And there's a reason for this. So this isn't that weird. The other part was kind of digging into myself, reminding myself of some of the stuff that's happened in my life, and then like trying to figure out if I've healed from those things or not. It was a really healthy practice for me, is to uncover some of the stuff I pushed aside. I don't know if it was enjoyable, but it was healthy, which means it was good. And I would take good over enjoyable any day.
Oh, definitely, for sure. I understand where you're coming from. And in your book, you really you included a lot of people that have helped shape who you are today. So what made you feel the need to include them or want to?
I wanted to involve these people because, one, they really matter to me. And I wanted to share them with whoever read the book. Two, in a sense, in a weird way, I think it was kind of like my dedication to them is to say, like, thank you. Like, I hear your story matters to me. And like, it's not just a story, like I hear it, I understand it, and I want to share it too. Because these stories are powerful. You know, some of the people like Annie that I read about in the book, she's no longer with us. And so I hope her legacy can be lived on in a positive way from the book at some level. You know, if I could have a small piece of that, it's not going to be her only legacy. She has many, many people that love and care about her and remember her. But if this book can be a small part of that, it'd be something that I find important. And they taught me something. And so ultimately, like, I want to share because they taught me a lot. And this book is hopefully going to teach somebody else something as well.
Absolutely. And throughout the book too, I obviously read the section about Annie, and of all of the people you wrote about, I was mostly touched by her story, how they came out to you on Instagram and reached out for you to connect with Annie. And then ever since, you two became really close friends. So that was a really, really meaningful story to read. And I felt like throughout reading it, because I've interviewed you before and we know each other, I feel like I got to know you even better reading this book. And you and I have talked before, where we both have the only child syndrome.
Yeah.
If you remember.
Oh, yeah.
You definitely touched upon being an only child growing up. So what was it like dealing with loneliness for you? Because I know you mentioned that a lot in your book. And it's tough being an only child, and I understand.
Yeah, one of the ways that you deal with it, it never really fully goes away. At least I've never met anybody or found out any way for it to fully go away. But one of the things that I've learned is some tools and some skill sets that help me work through it and help it from becoming like a paralyzing, overcoming feeling to like something that I understand is happening. And I have to speak truth into myself. Like, I am loved by God. I am loved by my family. I'm loved by my friends. I have a voice, all the things that to build myself back up. Speak some like truth, but also some encouragement to myself. Being only child is weird because I think a lot of these feelings or the especially the ability to be introspective. And I know that sounds like I'm bragging about myself, but hear me out. As an only child, you have a lot of time to be alone. So like the only way you can entertain yourself is by being introspective, or by playing make-believe, or by thinking through stuff and being creative. I think it's one of the gifts of being an only child, but it's also one of the things that we take with us into adulthood, where we overthink and we overanalyze everything because we're just used to it. And so as we get back out in the world and everybody's away from their siblings or away from their families, and everybody's kind of on an even playing field, people, you kind of, your gift, your differentiator is that like you spent most of your life being alone. And as a result, you still have some skill sets that you gained from that. I think it's really important. So I've also really started to admire those skill sets instead of trying to fight against them. I've really started to like own those and say, there's actually something that I can use for good at some level.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned being lonely during COVID. For other people, it can be kind of hard, but for you and I, it's not really like a tough transition because this is what we're used to. I mean, this is our world, being an only child.
Yeah, hanging out at home.
I guess it was just a
around the
smooth
yard.
transition for the two of us.
Yeah, I mean, we're ready for it.
Okay, this is everything.
Yeah, welcome.
Welcome to our world.
Yeah, you're right.
But in your book, you mentioned one part that really stood out to me because I also grew up watching Sesame Street. I think you know what chapter I'm going into here. So you said one of the songs from Sesame Street, it's called One of These Things. It really resonated with you and it gave you a label. And you said it told you who you were, the odd one out, the outsider. What made you want to include that in your book?
Well, I feel like most people watch Sesame Street, but I don't know if they did. I think a lot did, but I don't think everybody did. I wanted to include it in my book because it's how I felt. You know, the best way to explain in summary without adding complexity how I feel is that I am the outsider looking in through the window at the party I wasn't invited to, but knowing that everybody I knew was inside. So I was left out. I was the odd man out. And I've carried that with me forever. Like it's still something I combat against. It's still something I fight against. It's still something that comes up. So I wanted to add it because I imagine that if I feel that way, and I used to think I was the odd man out, I was the only one that felt this way. I was the only one that was the weirdo. I was the only one that had insecurities. I was the only one that had their world completely rocked by the Truman Show and felt like, oh no, that's my life. Like I'm the only one. And as I speak about it, I found out that more and more people feel the same way. In fact, most people I think feel the same way. And so I wanted to add it because I think it's something that's happening in our world that we just aren't talking about. And maybe if I talk about it, maybe other people will read it and go, no, me too. I feel that way also. And maybe now, since I know somebody else is feeling this way, maybe I'm not alone. Maybe we are connected.
As I kept turning the pages throughout your book, I kept resonating with you more and more, obviously with the only child syndrome. And I was one of those kids that felt left out if I wasn't invited to a party or something, and I would be on the outside looking in the inside. And I would be like, why didn't they invite me? You know, and it's a hard thing to deal with. And the fact that you're willing to speak up about that says a lot about your character. So I really commend you for that as well.
Thank you. I mean, you know, like you said, these are issues that go deep into the human soul, and they don't allow us to be the best versions of ourselves. They're not the most traumatic. I'm never going to claim my story is, but they affect us. And if my book can be a place where people can read and feel a little bit healthier, be a little bit healthier, find a little bit more joy, then it's all been worth it. That's, I guess, one of the big reasons why I want to share it too, is just, I hope people can read it and feel more connected and as a result, more healthy.
Absolutely. And again, I felt like I really got to know you even better while reading your book. It was really incredible. And I also learned some things about you too, again, such as Peru. So you taught English as a second language in Peru. What was that experience like?
Wild, weird. I was living in like a hostel, teaching English, very little responsibility, very little idea of where my path was going forward. I was trying to prove to myself and to, I guess, my girlfriend at the time that I could do it. And ultimately I got super homesick, but but it was really incredible. And I'd almost recommend it to anybody. It was right after college. It was a couple months after I ended. Is to like shake life up a bit and go and explore. And I'm glad I did, because before I entered into like my full-time job, that was what I was doing and it just allowed me the freedom, the opportunity to go enjoy and to explore and to find new culture and meet new people. But yeah, I lived in a hostel in Cusco, Peru, which is like a kind of a tourist town though. So like you had a lot of people from America coming through, but it was still fun.
That's awesome. And what else was fun in Peru? I never knew this. You worked at the zoo.
I did. Well, that's a funny
That's
story.
fun?
So
Or were you
it
dealing
was
with a lot of animal
amazing.
poo? What was going on?
All of the above. And so the lady that ran the university zoo had to take a vacation. She had never taken one. And they were asking at my house, which is full of a bunch of volunteers, if anybody was interested. And I was like, I'm interested. Like, do you have any experience? I'm like, not really. My grandpa had like some horses growing up. And they're like, deal. That'll be good. So I went, and my buddy and I ran this zoo for a month. We fed like condor, we had a puma, we had bear. I have pictures of me with 4 black bears standing around me as I'm dumping food out on the ground. Like, it's a different world. Like, those zoos don't have like separate areas for them. Like, you walk right into the cage. Like condor, we're sitting on top of like branches right above my head as I was picking up like meat off the ground, and they were like squealing at me. Like, it's a wild time. I have so many stories from that. My buddy got beat up by the monkeys at one point.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a wild experience. One that I was definitely not prepared for, but one that I will never regret.
I wish there was a chapter about that in the book.
Maybe there will be someday. Maybe I'll add to it. It's a good story.
Similar to After the Final Rose, are you going to possibly consider making a sequel?
Interesting. I would be interested. Writing books, like, I'd have to be in the right place. I'd have to feel like I have something to say. I think I do. I think there's some things going on in life that I think I could speak to. Maybe not as much about me personally, but like some things that I'm learning or seeing or feeling, experiencing. And so I do think at some point there'll be something, but I haven't started it yet at all. I haven't even started taking notes.
I mean, I love the concept of the first book dealing with your upbringing and where you are now in your journey on The Bachelor and much more.
Yeah.
But there were some things at the end of the book that you mentioned that I thought would be interesting for you to add in your sequel. So you mentioned at the end that you have some humorous stories. I think you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
There was a headline that you wrote in your book that I want you to explain to me. It says, Ben Higgins sits out of game due to severe rash. Why were you out of the game because of a rash? Please explain.
Good question. Yeah, this could be a book in itself. Well, so I was a quarterback in high school for 2 years, and it was my senior year, and I had gotten this like they call it, like, they're gross, but they're like a fistula. And a fistula is from a locker room. It's disgusting. But what it is like, it is like a bacteria that like eats at your skin. Like, it can be really bad. Mine wasn't that bad, but it was getting super painful. And so I had to go in and get like surgery on it. Like, they cut it out. And it's not a big surgery. It like sits you out a week or so.
As long as you're asleep, you're fine. So
yeah, you're fine. I didn't mind. But then I had to sit out the football game that week because I couldn't play either way, with it or without it. And so because of that, the newspaper they put a release out that said Ben Higgins sits out of games due to severe rash, and that was the headline. Well, so that like I would rather them say Ben Higgins has a fistula on his butt, and like he got it from the locker room, and he's already had surgery on, so it's good. But a severe rash, like, it can go a bunch of different directions.
Yeah,
like,
I was gonna say, for a high school article,
it's very open-ended,
interesting,
very confusing, and it adds a lot of questions to you, like, what kind of rash? How did you get this rash?
That could be a totally different book, Ben's Rash by Ben
That's
Higgins.
right. That's one of the stories, yes.
Or even a chapter.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic. It taught me a lot.
No, it's really funny because I know you wrote some other things that were funny that have happened to you in your life. And I'm like, oh, I want to know more. So you're like, we'll save that for another time. And I thought now was a good time.
You can ask anything.
Yeah, no, I did. I was really curious about that story.
See that headlines, it's deceiving.
I know. That's why I had to dive right in with you.
Yeah.
Tell me, what was the overall feedback from your parents, Jess, and your friends about your book? What did they all have to say?
Positive. It's weird. Like, there's not writing a book's odd, and a lot of authors texted me the day before my launch and kind of told me this. Two, actually, I shouldn't say a lot. Two specific authors. They said the same thing to me. They said launching a book's weird because unlike anything else you do, you don't really get immediate feedback, and you might not get feedback. You might not know who reads it, who doesn't read it, how they feel about it, how they think about it, and it's kind of been that way. So like even with my family, they've read it, but like some of it they knew, maybe some of it they didn't. And they'll say like, I really enjoyed it, but like that's about as far as they can go, right? There's not like a lot of stuff they can say because they knew a lot of it and they know me. And I would hope that they knew me personally better than they do from me, right, or from reading my book. But like nobody has had issues. I had a lot of things in the book that like I passed through them and say, hey, are you good with this? Are you okay if I say this? Especially with Jessica, like as I read about Lauren and like my past there.
Yes.
So like they had a lot of insight into that, but so nothing, I don't think anything was like shocking.
No, definitely. I understand. And then
Yeah.
was your dad really proud of you too? Because I know that you had a section about your dad and him growing up with stage 4. So
Yeah, he was. Yeah. I mean, it's such a consistent like thing in our life for years. It's not as much anymore, but for years that was so much of our relationship or so much of a topic of conversation. And so I think he is. I think he enjoys having it shared. He's a pretty like to himself dude. So like I don't think he like knows what to do with that or that people know that about him, but I think he's thankful that he even gets to be here to read that. I'm thankful he gets to be here to read that. And
I was
so
going to say the same thing. I'm sure he's extremely grateful that you wrote a section about him.
yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So no, it's special.
No, it definitely is. And when I read that, I was very touched by it and how every time you would savor the moment with him. And so he's still here today and he's thriving. So that's amazing. So
He's spending his winters in Florida now, so he's definitely thriving. He's thawed out. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I wish I were in Florida right now. That would be awesome.
Don't we all?
I know. But what else can we expect from you next, Ben? Anything exciting coming up?
Oh wow. The book is still in its like launching phases, so there's a lot of promotion with that. I do a show on Wednesday nights called Hope Still Wins. It's on my Instagram live. And I'm trying right now. We're not, it's not official, but like very soon, I think you'll see a good announcement with that about maybe turning into a podcast and making it like evergreen so that it can live and breathe and move and be outside of, my following. That's really the two big things right now I'm focused on is continuing the book launch and then really trying to get Hope Still Wins out there to be a sustainable product that can be shared and listened to. And grown. That's really exciting for me. It's like my dream job. So yeah, those are the two big things right now.
That's awesome. And I'm so excited for you. Congratulations
Thank you.
on your success. It's incredible. And now you're an author. That's so awesome. But before you go, Ben, I know last time you and I did my speed round. You did very well.
Thank you.
So I invented something new for you today for us to try. Yeah, I know. So we are going to play a new game that is very fitting with a song that I'm going to play. We are calling it This or That Bachelor Edition. There you go. Get in the spirit. All right. So I'm not going to time you this time because I know it was a lot of pressure. So I want you to relax and take it easy. Basically, I'm going to ask you a question and tell me what you like better. All right. So we have Bachelor in Paradise or Winter Games. Which one?
Paradise.
Okay. Who's the best crier? Ashley or Jason Mesnick?
Ashley. So much more consistent.
The hot tub or the pool?
That's tough. A hot tub, then yes, but every hot tub I got in was cold during the show.
Even on your season?
Yeah, so I would rather be in a pool, but that pool at the mansion is not heated and it can get freezing cold.
Okay, see, I did not know that.
It's a little tip, yeah.
So the only thing that will keep you warm is the California sun. Otherwise, you're screwed.
You're cold. Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Helicopter or a private jet?
Private jet. Helicopter's a little scary to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Little,
But you've been in some helicopters too.
yeah. I was a little scared.
I couldn't tell.
Yeah. Hide it well.
Queen Victoria or Erica?
Queen Victoria.
A shark or a sloth costume?
Sloth. Sloths are really cute.
I know. I love
Yeah.
sloths. Sneaking out or staying in your room?
In high school or during the show?
During the show.
I stayed in my room. Follow the rules. Everybody's following the rules. If we stop following the rules, where we go?
I understand. Group date or a 2-on-1?
Group date for sure.
I knew you would say that.
Yeah.
Rappelling down a building or skydiving?
Rappelling down a building.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. If you threw bungee jumping in there, it would be the last choice. Maybe skydiving. I could go either way, I guess. I just don't love the idea of like bouncing off.
That
like
was
jumping.
this or that question. You would do one or the other.
Skydive.
Okay, you changed your mind.
Yeah.
Roses or rosé?
What was the first one?
Roses or rose?
Rosé. Yeah, not a question. It's a lot more helpful in my life today than roses are.
This is the final rose, or I'll just give it myself.
This is the final rose.
Okay. Chick fights or guy brawls?
I'd rather if I was in the house, I'd rather watch the guy brawl.
But if you were watching it on TV, what would you prefer?
Probably the fights, because it's less like, if I'm there, I don't know why, like the fighting feels less like, but like if I was watching on TV, I'd rather just see people argue than like throw punches.
Okay. Evening wear or everyday clothes?
Everyday clothes.
Bahamas or Vegas?
Vegas.
Nice. Introduce her to your family or meet her family?
Introduce her to my family. I was like that. That's fun.
A Bachelor contestant or The Bachelor?
The Bachelor.
I figured you would.
I got a big ego.
Women tell all or men tell all? Which is more fun to watch for you?
Men tell all. Dudes make them look like fools.
I agree.
Yeah.
The first impression rose or the final rose?
Final rose. It's a big deal.
Who has more kids, Trista or Sean Lowe?
Oh no. Sean Lowe.
Yeah, that's the correct
Yeah.
answer. And finally, Bachelor or Bachelorette?
Recently, we've had some good Bachelorette seasons. But
I agree.
yeah, I'd say probably Bachelorette right now.
I would agree with that response as well. And I am excited to watch the upcoming 2 seasons of The Bachelorette.
Double the trouble, double the fun.
I'm excited. I'll definitely have you come back on so we can talk about it.
Sounds good, Amanda. Please do. Don't stay away for too long.
I won't. Don't worry. I haven't forgotten.
Perfect.